Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Unman Bhattacharya, coming up in the next hour. Prime Ministers of India and Australia jointly release India-Australia roadmap for sports collaboration at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, even as Australia backs India's bid for hosting the 2036 Olympics. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits New Zealand, third and final leg of his three-nation visit. PM Modi to be the first Indian Prime Minister in 4 decades to visit the Pacific Island nation. Iran's slain Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei buried at the Imam Reza Shrine in Mashhad, even as fresh US-Iran strikes deepen West Asia crisis. France advances to the FIFA World Cup semi-final after a commanding win over Morocco. From operationalizing Australian uranium transfer to India to firming up defence and security cooperation to expeditiously concluding the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation Agreement or CECA, the two sides have resolved to strengthen the relationship and secure the Indo-Pacific. PM wrapped up his highly successful visit to Australia. Here's a detailed report.
As Prime Minister Narendra Modi wrapped up his Australia visit, much was achieved over the 3 days he was here in Melbourne. From operationalizing Australian uranium transfer to India, to firming up defence and security cooperation, to expeditiously concluding the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, the two sides resolved to strengthen the relationship and secure the Indo-Pacific.
रक्षा और सुरक्षा में सहयोग बढ़ाने के लिए आज हमने एक महत्वपूर्ण जॉइंट डिक्लेरेशन जारी की है। भारत ऑस्ट्रेलिया डिफेंस इनोवेशन कॉरिडोर से हम डिफेंस स्टार्टअप्स और इंडस्ट्रीज को जोड़ने पर काम करेंगे। हमारे मैरीटाइम सिक्योरिटी कोलैबोरेशन रोडमैप से इंडो पैसिफिक में हमारे साझा प्रयासों को नई ताकत मिलेगी।
Prime Minister also used the Diaspora Connect to project India's soft power in Australia. Also, the Prime Minister addressed the CEO's forum where trade and investment and the increase in terms of investment into India and Indian investments into Australia would be strengthened. Sporting diplomacy was a key component of Prime Minister's this visit to Melbourne.
स्पोर्ट्स भारत और ऑस्ट्रेलिया के संबंधों की एक मजबूत कड़ी है। आज प्रधानमंत्री अल्बेनीजी के साथ इंडिया ऑस्ट्रेलिया स्पोर्ट्स कोलैबोरेशन रोडमैप लॉन्च करना मेरे लिए बहुत ही खुशी की बात है। इसके तहत हम क्रिकेट के साथ अन्य खेलों में भी सहयोग मजबूत करेंगे। स्पोर्ट्स ट्रेनिंग, स्पोर्ट्स साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ मिलकर के हम आगे बढ़ेंगे।
With India hosting the 2030 Commonwealth Games, Australia hosting the 2032 Olympics, and India bidding for the 2036 Olympics, which I'm certain Australia will support, there is a decade of opportunity ahead of us for more friendly rivalry, serious contests, and increased cooperation right across the board.
The Prime Minister also used diplomacy of sports, using sports as an anchor to strengthen the relationship between two sides, announcing a collaboration roadmap between the two sides, especially Prime Minister Albanese's pledge to support India's bid for the 2036 Olympics. With cameraman YK Loknath, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India at the Melbourne Cricket Ground.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that through the Khelo India program, children from small towns, villages and ordinary families are getting a platform to dream big and showcase their talent. Prime Minister said India is set to host the 2030 Commonwealth Games and is making all efforts to bring the 2036 Olympic Games to the country.
2030 में भारत कॉमनवेल्थ गेम्स की मेजबानी करने जा रहा है और जैसा मेरे मित्र ने बताया, हम 2036 में ओलंपिक्स भारत में आयोजित करने का भी प्रयास कर रहे हैं। 2032 में ब्रिस्बेन ओलंपिक्स होस्ट करेगा। इन ग्लोबल इवेंट्स को आयोजित करने के लिए मेगा स्केल पर स्पोर्ट्स इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर तैयार किया जाएगा। यानी आने वाले वर्षों में हमें एक दूसरे से सीखने के, एक दूसरे के साथ मिलकर काम करने के अनेक नए अवसर प्राप्त होंगे। मुझे खुशी है कि बिग बैश लीग का एक मैच भारत में चेन्नई में आयोजित किया जाएगा। किसी भी स्पोर्टिंग लीग के लिए भारत में इवेंट करना यानी बड़ी रीच और व्यूअरशिप की गारंटी है।
After successfully completing his visit to Australia, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is visiting New Zealand for the third and final leg of his three-nation visit. Prime Minister Modi was seen off by Australia's Foreign Minister Penny Wong at the airport. The Prime Minister's visit further strengthened the India-Australia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. From strategic defence cooperation and economic engagements to education, sports and vibrant community connections, the visit opened new avenues for collaboration and reinforced the deep bonds between the people of India and Australia. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Australia's iconic Melbourne Cricket Ground or MCG. He was accompanied by Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. PM met former Australian cricket captain Steve Waugh and presented him with a photograph from their earlier meeting when PM Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. Our correspondent Amritpal Singh had an exclusive interaction with Steve Waugh. Take a look.
I have with me Steve Waugh, the iconic international and Australian cricketer. He was here to receive Prime Minister Modi at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. During your interaction with Prime Minister Steve, what did you sense about the commitment to improving sporting ties between the two nations and also developing Indian sports?
Yeah, look, it's fantastic. We've got a really strong relationship, Australia and India. Cricket is obviously at the foundation of that, but also, of course, with the Olympics getting more, airplay and time, I think India wants to be more involved in the Olympics, and we've got some expertise there. So hopefully we can share a lot of our expertise between the two countries and go forward together.
You've travelled a lot, Steve, in India during your cricketing days. Are you hopeful that, what you saw back then as you compare with what today exists and the vision of the Indian leadership to make India a sporting power?
Yeah, well, cricket's changed a lot. I was just saying before, I first played here in 1986 against India, and then we played the Tide Test in Madras, and now 40 years later, there's a big bash game being played in India. IPL is the second biggest franchise model in the world in sport. So look, the landscape has changed, but two very powerful sporting nations with proud histories, and it's great we're working together more.
All right, Steve, thank you very much for talking to us. Pleasure. Clearly, he's hopeful that, there is potential for a greater improvement in Indian sports and the collaboration between India and Australia to cricketing and sporting giants. With cameraman YK Loknath, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India at the Melbourne Cricket Ground.
Prime Minister Modi also interacted with former Australia women's cricket captain Lisa Sthalekar as well as prominent Australian rugby players. Amritpal Singh had this exclusive conversation with Sthalekar about Prime Minister's visit to the MCG.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi was at the Melbourne Cricket Ground using sports as an integral pillar of diplomacy between the two countries. Not just limited to hardcore diplomacy, but increasing sporting ties between the two countries, putting out a roadmap for sports development and engagement between India and Australia. I have with me Lisa Sthalekar. Lisa, thank you very much for joining us. Lisa, how do you see the scope of cricketing ties and also sports ties, not just limited to games or that particular sports, but developing sports sports infrastructure, technology between the two countries?
Yeah, I think it's great and it's exciting that the two countries have come together and have put together this roadmap. Yes, cricket is probably at the core centre of our two countries being able to communicate and get along well with. But then there are so many more opportunities. Obviously, the Commonwealth Games, the Olympics potentially for India coming up, and given Australia's history in the Olympics and also conducting them here at the MCG as well, hopefully that information can be shared. And I like the fact that both governments are, what can we share from each other to strengthen each other's country, and I think that's really important.
Lisa, how do you see the role, you've been the national captain of the women's cricket team here in Australia. How do you see the Indian women cricket coming up in India and girls getting enthused by what we see, women cricketers becoming stars, but girls in rural India taking up cricket as a sport?
Yeah, look, it's great to see the development of the Indian women's side, and I think largely it's about the Women's Premier League. By having similar like an IPL, we are starting to see players come from tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities because there are those opportunities and financially can be remunerated accordingly and change those players' lives and their family.
Are you hopeful of India emerging as a sporting power just beyond cricket?
Yeah, I think there's a great opportunity, and Khelo India and what they've been able to do from the Olympic kind of sports movement. There's some wonderful opportunities for school kids to get involved with the possibility of one day representing India. You've seen a number of athletes go on and win gold for India, and no doubt India would love to see more athletes being able to compete at the highest levels.
All right, Lisa Salekar, thank you very much for taking our time and speaking to us. So clearly, Lisa is saying that she's hopeful, given the focus of the government on improving sports infrastructure, providing facilities to people, and using collaborations with international, countries like Australia. This augurs well for Indian sports. With cameraman YK Loknath, this is Amrit Pal Singh for DD India at the Melbourne Cricket Ground.
Prime Minister Modi met with Australian opposition leader Angus Taylor. The two leaders held productive discussions on growing India-Australia comprehensive strategic partnership. The warm and cordial meeting reflected the strong bipartisan support in Australia for deepening ties with India. As Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits Auckland, here's a look at special and multifaceted India-New Zealand relations. As anticipation builds ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's historic visit to New Zealand, members of the Indian diaspora are looking forward to a new chapter in bilateral ties. Our correspondent spoke with entrepreneur and GIX reality founder Shakti Ranganathan on the excitement within the community and the opportunities that this landmark visit could unlock for both nations. Take a listen.
There is a strong Indian community in New Zealand, and they have contributed not only to the economy here but also to culture, to diversity, and this is the community that acts as a living cultural bridge between India and New Zealand. And this is the community that has a lot of enthusiasm over Prime Minister's visit as well. And we have a community member here, Indian diaspora member, Mr. Shakti Ranganathan. Sir, thank you so much for speaking with us. Firstly, I would like to understand what is your personal enthusiasm like at the visit of Prime Minister. Are you excited to see him, to meet him?
This is absolutely pivotal. India-New Zealand relationship at the newest height. We are really looking forward to welcome our Prime Minister to New Zealand. But also it is very timing. It's the timing in which this is happening. It is back of the new free trade agreement momentum. But also it is following up our Prime Minister visit to India.
Yes, that was quite important. You are part of the delegation as well. What was the feeling like, being part of that core team that the Prime Minister Luxon took to India?
See, Indian diaspora is a living fabric between both the countries. We are the fastest growing community here in Aotearoa, but also we contribute to the third ethnic group in the country. It's not just the number, it's actually about the quality.
Absolutely.
It's not just in cricket field and boardrooms that we represent. Our Indian community is everywhere in terms of leading in different sectors, entrepreneurs, innovators, community leaders, contributing drastically in terms of New Zealand economy.
What are the opportunities like here for the students?
See, the message is pretty clear. India-New Zealand relationship is not just a nice to have relationship, but it is transformational now. For India, it is more about wider strategy on Indo-Pacific. But for New Zealand, it is diversifying our trade, tourism and innovation into diversification strategy, but also reducing the dependency only to few countries.
That's, I think, very important. And with the geopolitical flux happening around the world, a lot of people are now strengthening allies, diversifying their economy. And, talking about that, with the Prime Minister's visit, you as an entrepreneur, you as a Kiwi Indian, how do you see more opportunities opening up for not just you, but also the economy of New Zealand?
See, New Zealand is known for its niche technology and punching above our weight, whether it is sports field or whether it is science and technology. So we have a huge opportunity to collaborate and partner with India. Especially now, I already started to see India's premier research institutes like IIT, NCPR are forging partnership with New Zealand universities. But also there's a lot of opportunity for talent mobility and also innovation collaboration.
It's going to be great opportunities for not just the businesses but the economy as whole. And as you saw Mr. Shakti Ranganathan speak about his own journey, there have been many such success journeys here in New Zealand, leading to prosperity here, but also with the strength of resilience that the Kiwi Indian community has showed, that has contributed here culturally, economically, and has presented more opportunities for everyone. And with this visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, more such opportunities are going to come up for the people and for both the countries as well. In Auckland, New Zealand, with camera person Jay Shankar, I'm Akshay Dongre, DD India.
Let's now go back to understand the outcomes of the Australia visit. Joining us for that, we are being joined by Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, former Indian ambassador. Well, Ambassador, welcome to DD India. Let's begin with PM Modi's final engagement in Australia, his visit to the iconic MCG. The Australian PM backing India's 2036 Olympics bid, and both sides also releasing a joint roadmap for sports collaboration. Could this be, to your mind, a turning point in sports cooperation between the two sides? And how much do you think India stands to gain, particularly not just in cricket, but in all sports?
Yeah, thank you very much, Munmun. I think the volume is a little low, so I couldn't get all of what you said. But basically, I think what you asked about was in terms of the roadmap that has been, the economic roadmap that has been
the sports roadmap,
decided upon by the two sides. Sorry?
the sports roadmap. Both of them were at the MCG.
The sports roadmap. Okay, right. The visit, yeah. If you could just ask the PCR to increase the volume, that would be very helpful. Thank you very much for that. Yes, the sports roadmap. So the Prime Minister was in Melbourne in the morning, and today, before he left Australia for Auckland, and of course, sports was one of the main issues, main items of the collaboration, of discussions between him and Prime Minister Albanese. Munmun, you would recall, and your viewers and listeners would recall, that many decades ago, the relationship between India and Australia used to be described by the 3 C's. That is curry, Commonwealth, and cricket. Now, curry, of course, is very important. Commonwealth, maybe the salience, the relevance has declined a little bit, but cricket continues to be very significant. And what we are doing now is, it is not only cricket, but it is the whole gamut of all sports. And in that context, you know, whether it is tennis, whether it is football, these are all areas in which Australia does exceedingly well. Australia is a very sports-loving country. It's a very fit society, if I can say that. People really like being outside, and when Prime Minister Modi was in Melbourne, he visited the iconic Melbourne Cricket Club. He visited the museum. He met Steve Waugh. He met many other, the former captain of the women's team. And so I think there is a great synergy as far as this area is concerned. And Prime Minister Albanese also announced that there would be the launch of a major Australian tournament in Chennai going forward in the next couple of months. So I think sports has definitely emerged as an important element. Brisbane hosts the next Olympics in 2032, not the next one, but the one after that in 2032. India hosts the Commonwealth Games in 2030. And India is also vying to get the rights for hosting the 2036 Olympics in Ahmedabad. So I think that these are very important elements, whether it is sports science, sports technology, sports medicine. All these elements are very significant, and both countries will benefit through mutual cooperation and collaboration.
Absolutely. Extremely significant that Australia has backed India's bid for 2036 Olympics, and the roadmap is really comprehensive. It touches a lot in terms of training, capacity building, sports investment, a lot of collaboration to happen across various sports, not just cricket. So the next decade could be a decade of a lot of action when it comes to India-Australia sports collaboration. But we are getting now visuals from New Zealand. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in New Zealand. There you can see the first visit of Prime Minister Modi to New Zealand. He is accompanied by the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Christopher Luxon. An extremely significant visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, his first to New Zealand, a Pacific Island country, the first ever visit by an Indian Prime Minister in the last 4 decades. The ties between the two countries have gained momentum, especially since Christopher Luxon, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, was in India for the 10th Raisina Dialogue, where he was the chief guest and the keynote speaker. And in April 2026, both sides, India and New Zealand, signed an FTA, a free trade agreement, that is awaiting ratification and implementation. But ties have reached an inflection point already and are expected to only move from strength to strength. Already a very vibrant relationship. Diplomatic ties were established between both the sides in 1952. And this year, 2026, marks 100 years of sporting ties as well between India and New Zealand. There's a very vibrant Indian diaspora there of around 300,000. All Indian festivals are celebrated with a lot of enthusiasm and gaiety there. And besides that, there's a lot of interest in New Zealand schools when it comes to Indian traditional art forms such as Kathak and Bharatnatyam, contemporary Bollywood dance styles as well. There are several schools in New Zealand, in fact, that teach and promote Hindi and other Indian languages, and Like we've been saying, India and New Zealand enjoy strong sporting links as well, particularly in cricket and hockey and mountaineering as well. And Sir Edmund Hillary, who is considered a New Zealand hero, is an iconic name in India. He was also the New Zealand High Commissioner to India from 1985 to 1988. And we've heard from members of the Indian diaspora as well in New Zealand who've expressed their excitement ahead of Prime Minister's arrival. And now with Prime Minister there, we expect to see many instances of Prime Minister's engagement with the Indian diaspora, which is around 300,000 strong. Around 70,000 persons are estimated to be Indian passport holders. Hindi is the 5th most spoken language in New Zealand, and Indians or the Indian diaspora engages in professional activities as doctors, professors, engineers, chartered accountants, computer experts. Many are engaged in food business and dairy business, in the travel industry as well. And cooperation has really spanned diverse areas between the two countries. IIT Delhi, in fact, signed an MOU with New Zealand universities to establish a New Zealand Centre at the institute. And New Zealand universities and IIT Delhi have been contributing 50,000 New Zealand dollars each to fund 10 research projects on cancer, waste management, cybersecurity, robotics, autonomous vehicles, and medical technology, which is being done in collaboration by academics from IIT Delhi and one New Zealand university. So an extremely vibrant and dynamic relationship between India and New Zealand, especially getting a lot of momentum since March 2025, and Christopher Luxon was the chief guest at the 10th Raisina Dialogue, where he was also the keynote speaker. And in April 2026, particularly when a free trade agreement between India and New Zealand was signed, which is awaiting ratification as well as implementation. But a lot would change then in the bilateral economic partnership between India and New Zealand. If you look at the bilateral trade now, then the bilateral trade is to the tune of $2.25 billion, and that is expected to go up many notches once the FTA really comes into force. And New Zealand company also provided key components for Chandrayaan 3, and that particular New Zealand company is the GPS component manufacturer Rakon, and that has also inaugurated a research and manufacturing center of excellence in Bangalore. So a lot of cooperation happening in new areas as well as in traditional areas as far as India-New Zealand ties are concerned. And we continue to be joined by our guests. We were discussing Australia, but would you like to come in on New Zealand as well at this point in time, considering that the Prime Minister has reached and he was welcomed by the Prime Minister of New Zealand himself?
As you mentioned very correctly.
Please go
absolutely.
ahead.
As you mentioned, Manmohan, just now, this is a very consequential partnership. This is a very important relationship. This is the third leg of Prime Minister Modi's tour, and one would call it, in terms of engaging the Indo-Pacific in its whole wide gamut, whether it is the Act East policy of India or it is under the Mahasagar policy. So, after Indonesia, Australia, now New Zealand, and as you said very correctly, although it might be a small country, small economy, but 40 years is too long a period for it to have been neglected by not a single prime ministerial visit. So I'm very happy that this wrong has been, this oversight has been corrected. We have seen that both the countries have very recently entered into an India-New Zealand FTA, one of the very many FTAs that India has signed, and it speaks of India's confidence, the confidence and competence of the Indian industry, that it is willing to take on new opportunities and new challenges. Because the New Zealand economy might be a small economy, but it's a very sophisticated economy in terms of technology, in terms of science, in terms of research. And so I think it is going to be a win-win proposition. We have, of course, the ECTA in Australia being upgraded to SICA very, very soon now. And so I think here also, this will be a shot in the arm for the bilateral ties. We also know that the Prime Minister of New Zealand, Christopher Luxon, He was in Delhi recently. He was in Delhi last year as the keynote speaker for the inaugural of the Raisina dialogue, and that was exceedingly. That was his experience also in terms of meeting with the Prime Minister, and both the leaders were able to establish a very good rapport. That is what we witnessed also when the Prime Minister landed in Auckland. So I think that the discussions, the deliberations that are going to take place today and tomorrow are going to provide a huge shot in the arm for the bilateral relations. Of course, like in Australia, the people-to-people connect and the Indian diaspora is a very important element of our partnership, as it is in a large number of other countries. And here also, I think the address to the diaspora, address to the Indian community, will send out a very strong message of this being a living bridge and taking the relationship forward. So I think very many good things are in store for the bilateral partnership as a result of Prime Minister Modi's visit.
Yes, we'll get far too many opportunities to discuss Prime Minister's engagements in New Zealand going forward. But going back now to Australia, Ambassador, is this visit to Australia an inflection point in this relationship, considering 19 outcomes have been announced across domains, defense, maritime security, energy security, civil nuclear cooperation with uranium supplies to resume, rooftop solar training academy, return of Indian artifacts, to name a few?
You're right, Manmohan. You know, at times when there are high-level visits, either way, from India to different countries or from other countries to India, we at times rather loosely use the expression that it's a game changer. But I think as far as the Australia visit is concerned, and I would also add that to the visit to Indonesia, I think these two visits are truly game changers, because I think it's not only these visits, and particularly the visit to Australia, has to be viewed in the bilateral context. So that is important. You mentioned just now about 19 agreements, very significant agreements in very strategic areas, whether it is supply of uranium, which is an agreement that was signed in 2015, so about 11 years ago, but that has been languishing. There has been no action that has been taken on that. But now we have been able to operationalize it. We have been able to put it into action. So which will help the renewable energy structure as far as India is concerned. It will help India in its energy transition. It will help the climate change aspect because we are not using the fossil fuel in this matter, whether it is the area of security and defense, it is additional exercises, additional training that takes place between two countries, whether it is maritime domain awareness, the reiteration.
Yes, absolutely. So, all in all, a very productive visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, with a host of outcomes really announced during the course of the visit. The last stop of the Prime Minister really was at the MCG, where a bilateral sports roadmap for collaboration has been announced, and that is expected to give a major boost to Indian sports infrastructure and ecosystem as a whole, as India hopes to organize major sporting events like the Commonwealth Games in 2030 and later the Olympics in 2036. India is making a bid for hosting Olympics in 2036. Well, we'll leave it at that. Thank you, Ambassador, for joining us with your views. But still to come on DD India News Hour. Ukraine steps up attacks on Russia's energy infrastructure. City of Taganrog evacuates people after drone attacks. 11 people have died while 19 are missing in the wildfire in Spain due to rising heat wave conditions.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you. With majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar.
Johar. अरे it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. As part of efforts to strengthen trade and economic cooperation between India and Afghanistan, an industry interactive session on India-Afghanistan trade opportunities was held in New Delhi today. Organized with the support of the Ministry of External Affairs, the session brought together an Afghan business delegation led by Afghanistan Agriculture Minister Maulavi Atoullah Omari. Discussions focused on opportunities for trade, investment, technology partnerships and improved market access in sectors such as fertilizers and agrochemicals. The dialogue aims to further strengthen economic and commercial ties between the two countries while promoting long-term partnerships between their business communities. The second day of the third BRICS Transport Working Group meeting commenced in Nagpur today under India's BRICS Chairship 2026, with senior officials from BRICS member countries deliberating on measures to strengthen cooperation in the transportation sector. The delegates are discussing key policy priorities, including sustainable transport infrastructure, clean mobility, logistics resilience, and multimodal connectivity. The meeting is also focusing on enhancing institutional cooperation to address emerging global transport challenges and promote resilient, efficient, and future-ready transport systems. The deliberations of the working group will culminate in the third BRICS Transport Ministers meeting, which is scheduled to be held in Nagpur on Saturday. New American attacks and Iranian hits on U.S. allies raised fears of a return to all-out war in West Asia. Iranian armed forces launched attacks on U.S. military infrastructure in Gulf states on Thursday following U.S. strikes on Iran's southern coastal and eastern provinces, further eroding a 3-week-old ceasefire. The train service between the capital Tehran and Mashhad, an Iranian city, has been suspended after U.S. strikes. The Islamic Republic of Iran Railways blamed a criminal attack by the US-Israeli enemy on the route. Iranian media later reported multiple explosions across southern Iran, including Bushehr, where one of the country's nuclear plants is located, along with Konarak, Choghadok and Bandar Abbas. Attacks on Qatari and Saudi shipping vessels earlier this week upended the ceasefire, with US President Donald Trump declaring the truce over. Iran's Revolutionary Guards Navy said the US attacks and intervention in redirecting shipping through the Strait of Hormuz were disrupting the waterway's reopening. The US military said its strikes were aimed at keeping the strait open after it accused Iranian forces of attacking 3 tankers in the area. The U.S. military said on Thursday the United States had helped facilitate the transit of more than 800 commercial vessels and 380 million barrels of crude oil through the strait since early May, and that Iran does not control the waterway. Oil prices fell back on Thursday after spiking on concerns the fighting would disrupt global supplies. We'll take a breather at this point in time and be back with lots more. Stay tuned.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you. With majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar. Johar. अरे it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. US President Donald Trump briefed Benjamin Netanyahu on Thursday about US operations in the Gulf. US and Israeli officials confirmed the call between the two leaders. Netanyahu's office said that as part of the continuous contact between the two, President Trump updated the Prime Minister on American moves in the Gulf. The Israeli leader also voiced concern to the White House about Turkey, accusing Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his people of making statements against the existence of the State of Israel, as well as the need for security zones along Israel's borders. On Monday, Netanyahu urged the United States not to sell the jets to NATO ally Turkey. Iran's slain Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was buried in the country's holiest shrine after huge crowds gathered for his funeral, with his son and successor Moshtaba Khamenei still hidden from public view. The burial in Mashhad in northeast Iran follows a week of mass funeral processions, rallies and mourning ceremonies. Khamenei was killed in the first strikes of the war launched by the United States and Israel on 28 February. The burial is the culmination of a week of funeral events in both Iran and Iraq that the Islamic Republic's clerical leaders encouraged huge crowds to attend in an effort to display the might and ideological fervor of their theocratic state. Russia's Ilsky oil refinery caught fire early on Friday following a drone attack, local authorities reported on Telegram. However, preliminary information indicated no injuries. Meanwhile, in Russia's Rostov region, Governor Yuri Silyusar said that firefighters were working to put out fire at two fuel depots and at the Taganrog seaport. Taganrog Mayor Svetlana Kambulova said that the authorities evacuated people from their houses in the affected areas, adding that a private house was damaged and the roof of an administrative building caught fire. Russia's defense ministry said that air defense units had downed 376 Ukrainian drones overnight. A deadly wildfire continues to rage in southern Spain, with authorities reporting a rise in the death toll as firefighters battle the blaze amid an intense heat wave. At least 11 people have died, while 19 are missing in the wildfire near Almeria in Spain's Andalusia region, while several others have been injured. Around 150 firefighters supported by Spain's military emergency unit are battling the blaze as evacuation and relief efforts continue. Authorities are investigating the cause of the fire. A landslide triggered by heavy rains enhanced by Typhoon Bavi killed at least 5 people and left 6 others missing on the Philippines' southern island of Mindanao. The Typhoon Bavi is expected to pound Taiwan's north and east, as well as Japan's remote southwestern islands on Friday and Saturday, before smashing into China, which has been hit by deadly storms this week. Many schools and businesses were shuttered on Friday across northern and eastern Taiwan, including the capital Taipei, and hundreds of domestic and international flights were cancelled. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the world. A massive colony of black-winged white butterflies gathered at Nemrut Crater Lake in eastern Turkey, offering a rare spectacle for nature enthusiasts. The butterflies, known for their striking white wings with black veins, posed in large groups along the lake. Experts note that such a high concentration of the species in the area is an unprecedented natural event. Rapid advances in digital technologies are also reshaping the curation of Vietnam's cultural heritage. Tools such as virtual exhibitions, 3D mapping, and multimedia projections are making cultural heritage more accessible, allowing more people to explore and connect with the past. India's Directorate General of Foreign Trade has notified a tariff rate quota framework for UK origin vehicle imports under the India-UK Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement. It sets annual import limits, eligibility criteria and the application process to claim concessional customs duty. Under the notification, imports of completely built units from the UK will be allowed within specific annual quotas across passenger vehicles, electric vehicles and commercial vehicles. For the first year of the agreement, the total quota for internal combustion engine passenger vehicles has been fixed at 20,000 units. But no tariff rate quota has been allocated in the initial years for electric, hybrid and hydrogen-powered passenger vehicles. For completely built unit goods vehicles, including trucks and commercial vehicles, the annual quota has been set at 2,500 units in the first year. The notification states that only original equipment manufacturers or OEMs or dealers and channel partners authorized by the UK-based OEMs will be eligible to apply for TRQ allocation. At the time of customs clearance, importers must also produce a valid certificate of origin issued by competent authorities in the UK. German automakers have been under pressure for a while now, but one of the biggest names in the business has been doing so bad that management has had to call a major meeting to discuss the very survival of the company. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and joins me from Berlin. Lars, what's the latest you're hearing?
Yeah, the latest I'm hearing is actually relatively fresh because talks there at Volkswagen went late into the evening. The biggest German car maker says they need to scale down drastically as they are selling approximately 1 million fewer cars per year than they have been just a few years ago, which means, of course, that they have to decrease their capacity to lower cost. Volkswagen's profit is currently down 26%. Now, looking at some details, Volkswagen wants to cut half their models in an effort to streamline their product palette. They will also have to make major cuts to the workforce, cutting up to 120,000 of their 650,000 jobs, which is even more than even the most pessimistic expectations were. 4 plants are likely to be closed, including one Audi plant, where the company's more upscale subsidiary makes some of its models. However, none of these plant details have been confirmed for now, despite the board meeting all day.
And Lars, then why is Volkswagen in this unfortunate situation?
Well, it's because, not unlike other German companies, they have seen their sales decline as entire markets evaporated, specifically their 2 biggest markets. The United States has become difficult for German car makers as they're paying hefty tariffs under the Trump administration, making cars more expensive there and thus less attractive compared to US models. As for the other major market, China, they've built up their own auto industry over the past few years, and oftentimes they far outran German and other European brands. Those are now simply no longer in demand, and that's true not only for Volkswagen, but also Mercedes-Benz and BMW. Now, what weakened the German brands in comparison to Chinese competitors is 2 things. They fell behind on e-mobility, sticking to combustion engine cars for too long. And the other big factor is high cost of labor, high cost of energy, high taxes. They simply had a hard time making a profit on cars that were expensive to produce and had to compete with Chinese cars, whose makers in many cases even benefited from government subsidies.
And what are the reactions to the changes Volkswagen has now proposed?
People are very upset, which is not surprising considering the fact that the job cuts are expected to be so much more drastic than they had thought. There were protests yesterday at all Volkswagen plants, and people said this is a slap in the face for us. People were worried about their livelihoods, but also the fate of entire regions. So there is a lot of angst out there and anger too, because even though yesterday's meeting lasted into the evening, there is still no detailed plan out. There's still too many open questions. The chairwoman of the Workers' Council actually said, quote, "The executive board's treatment of the workforce is beyond disrespectful." She also says that plant closures shouldn't be seen as a strategy for the future of Volkswagen. Again, I quote, "It's crucial that Volkswagen once again impresses with competitive, innovative products." So saving the company through cuts, that's not what the workers want, of course. But with regards to their wishes, they aren't any closer to answers or a solution than they were before yesterday's meeting.
Thanks, Lars, for those updates from Berlin. Time now for all the sports action. Wimbledon is guaranteed to crown another Czech women's singles champion as Linda Noskova and Karolina Muchova booked their places in Saturday's final with impressive semi-final victories. Noskova and Muchova will meet in an all-Czech Wimbledon singles for women final after winning their respective semi-finals on Thursday. It marks the first all-Czech Grand Slam final in the Open era and ensures a Czech woman will lift the Wimbledon title for the third time in 4 years. Noskova defeated Ukraine's Marta Kostyuk in straight sets, while Muchova edged past American Coco Gauff in a thrilling deciding set tiebreak. In the mixed doubles final, Latvia's Jelena Ostapenko and El Salvador's Marcelo Arevalo rallied from a set down to defeat Australia's Storm Hunter and Mark Polman's 4-6, 7-5, 6-2. The pair recovered after dropping the opening set to clinch the Wimbledon mixed doubles crown, capping another memorable day at the championships. France are through to the FIFA World Cup semi-finals after a commanding win over Morocco, with Kylian Mbappe once again leading the way for Les Blues. Kylian Mbappe scored his 8th goal of the tournament before Ousmane Dembele added another as France defeated Morocco 2-0 in the World Cup quarterfinals in Boston. The victory sends the 2018 champions into their third consecutive World Cup semi-final, where they will face the winner of the Spain-Belgium clash. Mbappe's goal moves him level with Argentina's Lionel Messi at this tournament. The two are also having a thrilling contest to see who will become the all-time World Cup top scorer, with 27-year-old Mbappe now on 20 goals compared to the record 21 from 39-year-old Messi. Spain and Belgium are now all set to renew one of European football's oldest rivalries as they meet in the FIFA World Cup quarterfinals in Los Angeles. Spain booked their spot after a dramatic 1-0 victory over Portugal, while Belgium produced an impressive 4-1 win over the United States. Spain have combined disciplined defending with fluent attacking football and will once again rely on their young stars and midfield control. Spain and Belgium will face each other for the 23rd time in international football, but only the 3rd time at a FIFA World Cup. Spain have dominated the rivalry with 12 wins compared to Belgium's 5, with 5 matches ending in draws. Belgium, meanwhile, have looked dangerous going forward and clinical in front of goal. They face the daunting task of breaking through a Spanish defence that is yet to be breached in the tournament. With both teams in impressive form, fans can expect an intense contest between two European heavyweights chasing a semi-final berth against France. France remains one of the only 2 teams to have won every match at this year's World Cup, extending its unbeaten run in the tournament with another composed performance. French supporters celebrated long into the night as thousands gathered at fan zones, including Paris's Parc de la Ville, to watch Les Blues secure another semi-final berth. Celebrations then shifted in fact to Champs-Élysées, where French and Moroccan fans waved flags and applauded both teams in a festive atmosphere. That's all in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do share your thoughts with us on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. This is Munmun Bhattacharya from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.